I gifted my parents a $425,000 seaside mansion for their 50th anniversary. When I arrived, my mother was crying, and my father trembling. My sister's family had taken over. Her husband stepped toward my dad, pointed to the door, and yelled, "This is my house, get out." My sister laughed until I walked in, and silence fell. The salt air hit me the moment I stepped out of the car. A familiar, welcome friend. It was the scent of my childhood summers, of freedom, of the endless blue horizon that promised anything was possible. I'd driven for 6 hours, a thermos of stale coffee my only companion, the hum of the engine a mantra of success and gratitude. Today was the day, the culmination of 20 years of grinding work, of saving every spare dollar, of sacrificing weekends and holidays. Today was my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, and I was about to give them the sky, the sea, and a roof over their heads worthy of the love they'd given me. The house was a sprawling Cape Cod, painted a gentle seafoam green with crisp white trim, perched on a low bluff overlooking the Atlantic. It had a wraparound porch and enough windows to bankrupt a professional cleaner, each one a perfect frame for the ocean. I had closed on it 3 weeks ago, a ghost in the transaction. Everything handled through my lawyer and a shell corporation to keep my name off it until the reveal. The deed, now resting in my parents' names, was tucked into a beautiful, hand-tooled leather portfolio on the passenger seat. I took a deep, steadying breath, the salty air filling my lungs. This was it. The surprise was set. My parents thought they were just meeting me here for a celebratory lunch at a nearby restaurant. They had arrived an hour ago, dropped off by a car service I'd arranged. I'd told them I was running late, a classic me move, to give them time to wander the grounds, to fall in love with the place on their own terms before I even said a word. I imagined my mother, her hand on my father's arm, walking along the stone path, commenting on the hydrangeas bursting with blue and purple blooms. I imagined my father, a quiet man of simple tastes, looking out at the water with that soft, peaceful expression he got whenever he was near the coast. I smiled, the fatigue of the long drive melting away, replaced by a thrum of pure, unadulterated joy. This was more than a house. It was a thank you. It was an apology for all the times I was too busy, too far away. It was a promise that their final years would be filled with the peace and beauty they so richly deserved. My sister, Clara, and her husband, Mark, were supposed to be meeting us at the restaurant. I'd sent them the address, a separate invitation. The thought of them caused a familiar, tiny knot to tighten in my stomach, a reflexive bracing I'd been practicing my whole life. Clara and I had a complicated history, a polite but chilly distance that had grown into a frozen tundra over the years. She was the beautiful one, the charming one, the one who'd married her high school sweetheart and stayed in our hometown, while I was the awkward, driven one who had fled for the city and the anonymity of corporate life. Her life was a carefully curated Instagram feed of domestic bliss. Mine was a series of spreadsheets and late-night flights. She resented my success, and I resented her for making me feel like I constantly had to apologize for it. Still, this was for Mom and Dad. For one day, we could all be a family. I grabbed the leather portfolio from the car and started up the long, crushed shell driveway. The sound was crisp under my sensible heels. As I got closer to the house, I could hear voices. A man's voice, raised and sharp, cutting through the gentle sigh of the waves. My smile faltered. An argument? Maybe some local was giving them a hard time about being on the property. I picked up my pace, a prickle of unease on my skin. The voice grew louder, angrier. It wasn't a stranger. I knew that voice. It was Mark. I rounded a corner of the porch, and the scene that unfolded in front of me stopped my heart cold. My mother was pressed against the white railing, her face streaked with tears, her shoulders shaking. My father, his face ashen and his hands trembling, stood protectively in front of her. And there, standing in the open doorway of the house, their house was my sister's husband, Mark. His face was a mask of crimson fury, a vein throbbing in his temple. He had one arm braced against the doorframe, a posture of arrogant ownership, and his finger was pointed directly at my father's chest. "I don't know what kind of game you're playing."
Full story on channel link below.